You have to admit there is a beautiful simplicity to riding a mountain bike. At the same time, an e-mountain bike will allow you to go to places you might not have been to before and definitely allow you to do more riding. So the question then, whether to buy a mountain bike or an e-mountain bike has never been so tough. So let's have a look at some of the questions. A mountain bike and an e-mountain bike, pretty much the same beast, and both differing in performance depending on what model you choose. And whether you're a newcomer to mountain biking or an experienced rider, you could argue that both have their strengths and weaknesses. The big question, however, remains, if you had to make the choice between one of the two, which one would you make? Today I've got two bikes. I've got a stump jumper at 140, 150 mil travel and a Levo at 150 front and back, both examples of trail bikes. So today we're going to be looking at some of the banter, some of the questions, some of the facts and maybe some of the performances of the two bikes to help you make that decision. With 29-inch wheels and a full carbon frame set, the stump jumper and the Levo are actually pretty close. And when you factor in such things as the sizing and the geometry, those are quite similar too. No, the biggest difference between these two bikes is actually the weight. The stump jumper, depending on what model, about 13 to 14 kilos. The Levo, on the other hand, about 20 to 21 kilos. Now, the important thing to remember here is that they're just different numbers. One number isn't better than the other because both bikes require different techniques to ride them. Now, starting off with arguably one of the most important questions you need to ask yourself before buying a bike is what style, what category of mountain bike do you want? Do you want an all-day mile muncher, or do you want a downhill bike? Do you want a trail bike, or do you want an enduro bike? Now, the good news is that you can actually have e-bikes and mountain bikes in all those categories. Although I would say that if you're going for the big miles, then if you're lighter, you're going to go further, or you'll just need an extra battery. Now, the second point is probably weighted more towards the e-mountain bike, and that is, do you actually have any preconceptions about e-mountain bikes? Well, here's a list of commonly quoted reasons for not buying an e-mountain bike. Well, first of all, are we talking e-bike or e-mountain bikes? There's actually a big difference here. Secondly, e-bikes make you unfit, so say a lot of people. Well, actually, there's now scientific studies to prove otherwise. And then there's that old nugget, you only just turn the throttle. What throttle? It's pedal assist. Now, two classics that I frequently hear are, I'll only get an e-bike when I can't get up the hills, or actually when I'm unfit. Now, to me, that sounds like negative forward planning. And of course, there's the other one. Well, I might get an e-bike in 10 years' time. Well, I mean, why 10 years? You could probably go mountain biking when you're 80 or 90 year old. Maybe it could be that you simply do not like the idea of e-mountain bikes. And if that's the case, then fair enough. Number 3 on the consideration list, have you actually ridden both styles of bike? Have you ridden an e-bike and a mountain bike? If not, you'll actually find it really difficult to come up with a definitive answer. And maybe that answer should be based around, are you having fun? Yes or no? Now, an important thing to think about is actually how much time do you have to ride your mountain bike? Remember, an e-mountain bike can probably do more riding in a shorter space of time. Woo! Now, how much money you have is an incredibly important consideration. Two of the bikes we've been looking at today as examples, the stump jumper and the Levo, are actually pretty high-end bikes. They're also full suspension, but you can also get hardtail mountain bikes too. A decent hardtail mountain bike will start at around about £800, whilst a entry-level mid-drive e-mountain bike hardtail about £1,500. So obviously there's quite a big difference there in the price. Now, sadly, weight does come into the equation too. Heavier riders will always struggle a bit more on hills than lighter riders. It's simple physics, power to weight ratio. And the same applies to e-mountain bikes as well, but in some other ways too, in terms of like the battery range. For example, a 90 kilo rider can probably do about 5,000 feet of climbing in a day, whereas
a 50 kilo rider can probably do about 10,000 feet of climbing in a day on the same battery. So when it comes to your decision on buying a bike, that's certainly something you need to think about. But obviously there's fit riders and not so fit riders, there's experienced riders and not so experienced riders. And the great thing about an e-mountain bike, you can actually choose to ride in eco mode and get a huge workout. Or if you're new to mountain biking and you've not been out and experienced the countryside, then maybe you want to use the turbo mode, which actually gives you a bit of an easier ride. Which brings us on to the next question, and that is, what can each of these bikes do that the other cannot? Or probably a better way of putting it is, what are the strengths and weaknesses of both? Let's start off with the stump jumper. Beautifully simple, anytime, any place. You are simply not governed by your ability to charge a battery, or indeed how much battery you have left in the tank as far as range goes. It's all about you, your power, your imagination, a truly physical experience, a truly all-round bike. Now the Levo, on the other hand, is everything a mountain bike can do, but much, much more. More riding, faster riding, and probably good at places you wouldn't necessarily get to on a mountain bike. In terms of the effort, it's all down to you. You can either go hard or you can go easy. And that's why bikes such as these have become such an incredible training tool. At which point I'm going to throw a gigantic curveball into this conversation. Now, so far, we've been talking about mountain bikes and e-mountain bikes, but then there is this, the new Levo SL from Specialized. In many ways, it's a new milestone in e-mountain bikes, a different landscape, certainly in terms of its power. There's lower power, lower weight, and in many ways, it's more mountain bike than a lot of the e-mountain bikes out there. Because there are such things as, like I mentioned, the lower power, lower weight, but also the nimbleness and the geometry. So this whole conversation of what mountain bike or e-bike to buy has suddenly become incredibly more complex.
Now, the opportunities for exploring big technical mountains are insane on an e-mountain bike, but you shouldn't discount riding on flat ground either, because you might want to tow your child or maybe commute on that e-mountain bike. On a mountain bike, on the other hand, it really is a flexible tool too. You can use the uplift, but those super technical climbs might just be a little bit more difficult. So what will your mates think? Well, your mates might have different levels of experience and knowledge when it comes to e-mountain bikes or mountain bikes. Now, out here in Cape Town, I actually caught up with two riders for both disciplines. Now, a lot of people are actually genuinely worried. What happens if they buy an e-mountain bike? What happens to their mates? What happens to the ride? Actually, what happens to the dynamic of a mountain bike ride with your mates? Well, I'm joined with Guy and Bradley. We're here in the hills north of Table Mountain. Guy, you've been riding a while, right?
Yeah, about 30 years now.
Whoa! And I hear you started off in England.
Started off in England, yeah, with Gary Fisher.
Yeah.
Way back when.
So how long have you had an e-mountain bike?
About 5 months now.
Yeah. And has it sort of changed? Has it changed how much, or that, you know, if you go riding with people?
It's completely changed my riding style. I'm more confident on the downhills.
Ooh.
But I'm doing a lot more riding now.
Yeah.
But my best part is being able to keep up with everybody now.
Right. You mean fit guys such as Bradley here on
He's
my
always
left?
been a problem, yeah.
So Bradley, I mean, obviously it goes the opposite way around. Do you actually go riding here in Cape Town with people on e-bikes?
Yes, actually all the time. I've got a group of guys that ride really often. Obviously, big difference in skills of riding and fitness of riding. Guys on the e-bike obviously just able to do better rides, longer rides, more technical rides, more confident on the bike, and also get to the top of the hill and enjoy the downhills. So definitely an advantage.
And a good bit of banter with people such as Guy.
Exactly, all the time, yeah. So it's a lot of fun.
But it's a difficult question, isn't it? At this moment in time, do you buy an e-mountain bike or do you buy a mountain bike?
No, for sure, it's a tough one. And I think personally, anyone that's just not able to get to where they used to on the hill, or wants to do longer rides but is not maybe physically able anymore in their 60s or 70s, and they still want to be out on the bike, get out there, got beautiful trails around here.
But what about, I mean, you come from a downhill background. What about if you want to go and hit a load of downhill runs? Surely
Exactly.
It's tempting you, right?
No, for sure. That's the other option. Guys like Mike Goodwin who do a lot of technical riding, a lot of downhill, don't feel like pedaling up an hour's worth of climbing, but can bomb down. And we don't have shuttles or ski lifts in South Africa, so most of the time. So
I guess that's an added consideration, right?
Exactly.
Where do you live? You know, that's going to have an effect on whether you get an e-bike or not.
For sure.
Okay, great. Nice one, guys. Let's get down through the eucalyptus.
Cool.
Interesting chat there with the guys. But what about if you ride your mountain bike by yourself? Well, it just so happens we bumped into Johan up in the vineyard. So we're literally on the side of the trail and we bumped into Johan. Now Johan's got a shiny new specialised Levo Expert. Is this your first e-bike, Johan?
That's right, Stephen.
Right.
Yes.
Do you still have another mountain bike as well?
Yes, I've got an Epic Evo.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the question is, how much time do you spend between the two bikes then?
I spend a lot of time on the e-bike, but since I had the e-bike, I'm spending more time on the normal bike as well.
Whoa, how come that doesn't add up? So you're spending more time mountain biking?
That's the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
You mentioned a turbo trainer earlier.
Yes.
And what's happened to that?
Now, I considered buying a trainer to practice indoors.
Yeah.
I just couldn't see myself sitting indoors.
Right.
So I got this instead.
Well, so there you go. E-bike as a training tool. Thanks, Johan.
Thanks, Stephen.
Yeah.
Now, the bottom line in all this chit chat is the bike fun, yes or no? And the only way you can find this out truly is by getting yourself to a demo day and trying all these bikes out. Does the bike tick all the boxes? Does it do it for you in terms of visually? And is it built for the type of riding you intend to do on that bike? So, like I said, get yourself to a demo day, try it all out, try the different sizes, different models, and that's the only way you can find out whether you like mountain bike or e-mountain bike, or like I mentioned, that little bike in the middle called the Levo SL, which is lower power. So there you go, a brief look into the biggest question mountain bikers are faced with today. Do you go for a mountain bike or do you go for an e-bike? Or, like we mentioned, there's that whole new discipline which the Levo SL throws at us in terms of lower power, low weight, more agility. Is it simply a question of wine, spirits or beer? I don't think it is, because I think we all like a bit of both. But guys, let's know your thoughts on this huge subject. What were the decisions you're making today? Let us know in the comments down below. In the meantime, if you want to see what e-mountain bikes can do, obviously this is an electric mountain bike channel. I'm leaving 2 videos down below. Give us a thumbs up if you like it and hit the globe to subscribe for more electric mountain bike content.